Let's go ahead and look at some sample HISET math standardized test questions. Now, these questions here that I'm going to go over will help you with other standardized math tests as well, such as the GED math and other tests. So let's look at the first question. It says, what are the zeros of the function? This function right here. So what does this mean? What are the zeros? Basically, it's asking, if I just look at this side of the equation, what values can I plug in for x such that this comes out to 0? So if I input some value for x, I want an output of 0. That's what it's asking for. And my values of x are in my answer choices. So I'm going to use my answer choices to help me. Now, this function notation, actually for this particular problem, we really don't need, so I'm going to cross it out. This just means f at x, but I'm just going to focus on this right-hand side of the equation. And what I'm going to do is use my answer choices. I'll start with A, and I'm going to plug in first -8 for x here, and I'll plug in -8 for x here. And when I evaluate that, if that goes to 0, then A is a possible answer choice, but then I'll have to check the 3 as well. They both need to work. Now, don't make the mistake of doing the following, of plugging in -8 for x here and 3 for x here. We have to look at these values of x independently. So let's start with this value of x right here, this -8. Just going to focus on that. I'm going to rewrite this side of the equation over here, x squared plus 2x minus 24. What I'm going to do, so you can see the substitution clearly, is I'm going to, instead of putting x here, I'll put a set of parentheses. So instead of x, I'll put set of parentheses squared plus 2. This means 2 times x. There's a times sign there. It's just not showing. So 2, instead of x, I'll put a set of parentheses. Bring down your minus sign. Bring down your 24. And now I'm going to plug in 8 for x. Or I'm sorry, -8. So x is -8. I'll put a -8 here. I'll put a -8 here. And let's evaluate this and see if it comes out to 0. If it does, then A is possibly an answer choice. If it doesn't come out to 0, I can go to the next answer choice to see if that works. So -8 squared means -8 multiplied by itself 2 times, like this. -8 times -8 plus, well, let's see, what's 2 times -8? 2 times 8 is 16. Write that a little better. 2 times 8 is 16, then I'll bring down this negative sign, and then I'll bring down my minus 24. Now let's do this piece here. -8 times -8 is 64, plus a -16, minus 24. Well, let's see, what's 64 plus -16? That's 48. Now, think about this for a second. When I say 64 plus -16, that's the same as saying 64 minus 16. When you add negative, it's the same as subtracting. So what I really did is just went 64 minus 16 is 48, then bring down my minus 24. And this does not equal 0. 48 minus 24 does not equal 0. So A cannot be a possible answer choice. It has to come out to 0, and it doesn't here. So I can eliminate answer choice A. I don't even need to check the 3 right here. I don't even need to check that. So I'm going to eliminate this. This is gone. And then I'm going to see if any of my other answer choices have a -8 in it. If any of the other answer choices has -8, I can eliminate it. And you can see none of these answer choices have -8, so I need to keep the rest of them. This one is +8, and that might work. So let's go to B now. Let's see if we have more success with B. I'll erase erase this here. Oop. Back here. Just erase this. Give me 1 second here. There we go. It's all gone now. There we go. So now let's go ahead and go to answer choice B, and I'm going to plug in this value here for x. So let's do that. I'll plug in -6 now. I'm focusing on the -6. So I'll put in -6 for x here. I'll put in -6 here. And we'll go ahead. My pen's real sensitive here. I don't know what's going on, but it's all good. So let's go ahead and evaluate this. -6 squared means -6 times -6, which is 36, plus 2 times 6 is 12. Bring down your negative sign, minus 24. I meant to put this in blue here. That's okay. And what's 36 plus -12? Well, that's the same as 36 minus 12, which is 24 minus 24. Check it out. This goes to 0. So when I plug in -6 for x, I get out a 0. And that's exactly what I want. So -6 worked. Now I need to check 4. And if that works, B is my answer choice. So let's do that. Erase this. All right, now we're looking at 4. So I'm going to highlight the 4 so you're clear on the fact that I'm focusing on the 4 here. So I'll replace the x with 4 here. Replace the x with 4 here, right there. Minus 24, and 4 squared is 16, plus 2 times 4 is 8, minus 24. 16 plus 8 is 24, minus 24 is 0. So when I plugged in 4, I got an output of 0 as well. So -6 and 4 are the zeros of this function. I can circle B, and I can move on to the next question. Question 2 says, what is the sum of 5x squared plus 3x minus 7 and 12x plus 12? So it's basically telling you, excuse me, to add these expressions. So I'm going to rewrite this with a set of parentheses to make it easier to read. And I'm going to rewrite this with a set of parentheses to make it easier to read. And this and will become a plus sign because sum implies addition. So let me just rewrite that here, 5x squared. And these parentheses are simply used to make it easier to read. These parentheses plus 12x plus 12. Now remember, when you're adding terms, they need to be like terms. So for example, I can't add these two. I can't add 5x squared plus 3x because this has an x squared next to it and this has an x next to it. They need to be like terms. You need to have the same variable in front of it. For example, if I had something like 5x squared plus 2x squared, I could add these and say 7x squared. However, when I have something like this, (5x squared plus 2x), I cannot add these because this has an x squared next to it. This has an x next to it. And you can't combine them. Same thing with this. Let's say you had something like this, 5x plus 2. You can't add these and say 7x because this is a constant term. It has no letter or variable next to it. So you can't add these two together. You could add them if they both had an x next to it like this. Then it would be 7x. So keep that in mind when we're adding these. And what I'm going to look at here first is I notice right here that I have this -7. I'm going to look at this as a -7. And I have this plus 12. Now, I'm going to rewrite this as -7 instead of -7. So I have -7 from here plus 12. I can combine these two right here. I can combine these because each one of them doesn't have a letter next to it. Now, what's -7 plus 12? Well, that's 5, right? That's 5. Let's think about it. If it's 7 below 0 and it goes up 12 degrees, your new temperature would be +5. You can put the plus sign in there. What this tells me is that my answer has to contain a +5. It has to. So any answer choice that doesn't have a +5 in it, you can get rid of. So let's see, A has a +5 right there, so I keep it because I'm looking for this. B has a +19, I can get rid of it. B's gone. C, let me put that in red, because it doesn't have a +5, it has a +19. C has a +5, so I keep it. D has a +12. It's not a +5, so I can get rid of D. And E has a +5. Look at what I've just done here if you're running out of time. Now you've increased your chances of guessing the correct answer. So if you're running out of time, now you have a 33% chance of guessing correctly. You could pick A, C, or E. But let's continue this so you're clear on the rest of it. So I've dealt with this part of the expression now. This is gone. This is gone, and this is gone. Let's look at the 3x and the 12x right here. These are like terms right here. These are like terms. You got 3x and you've got 12x. And we're adding them, right? So it's plus 3x. You don't need to show this plus sign. Plus 12x. They both have an x next to them, so you can combine them. What's 3x plus 12x? Well, that's 15x. So my answer choice has to contain a 15x. Now, again, I've already gotten rid of these. These are gone. I don't even need to look at those because they didn't have the +5 in there. Now we're just looking at A, C, and E. So it must contain a 15x. Let's see. Yeah, this has a 15x. Keep it. This doesn't. This has a 3x. This is gone. This doesn't have a 15x. This is gone. There's no 15x in here. And by the process of elimination, my answer choice has to be A. Let's move to the next question here. It says, look, there's a lot of stuff in here in question 3. And basically all this stuff, if you read it, I'm not even going to read it. I suggest you do, just so you have an idea of what's going on. But all this stuff is represented by this inequality. Let me get the right color. Try one more time. I want that in yellow. So all this stuff here represents this inequality here. You can see that the 100 shows up here, right here, and then you got a $4 for each earring. X represents the number of earrings, so 4x, 5%, 5y. And I'm sorry, X actually represents the number of charms, and Y is the number of sets of earrings. My mistake on that. But in reality, you don't even need to know all this stuff up here. You just need to look at this inequality here. And they're asking which ordered pair. Now, an ordered pair is XY. Right here. What that means is this is the value of X. This is the value of Y. That's an ordered pair, X, Y. And so on. It says which ordered pair represents a combination of charms and earrings Aisha can buy. Well, what I'm going to do is use my answer choices again. I'm going to plug this in for X, and this in for y. Now this is an ordered pair. Again, an ordered pair is x comma y. It says that right here. So if this, let's start with a. Let me rewrite this. We got 4x, 5y is less than, that means less than 100. That's something you're just going to have to study and practice. That means less than, this means greater than. Now, what I'm going to do is rewrite this again. I'll put 4 parenthesis x plus 5 parenthesis y is less than 100. So what I'm going to do is I'll put in some value for x here and some value for y here and see if it's less than 100. So let's start with a. And it's not always a great idea to start with letter A. Sometimes if I saw some smaller numbers here, I might start with C or B, but I'll just go ahead and start with A, and we'll say x is 16. So I'll replace this x with 16. So this x becomes 16 from here. And then the y value is A. I'll replace this y. The y value is 8. So I'll replace this y value with 8. And I'm going to check to see if this expression here on the left-hand side, if this all comes out to be less than 100, then it's a possible combination, and then I'll know that A is my answer choice. So let's see if this comes out to be less than 100. If it does, I'm good to go and I'm done. So what's 4 times 16? That's 64. Remember, there's a time sign here. It's not showing. So 4 times 16 is 64 plus 40. Is that less than 100? Let's see. Nope, that's 104. 64 plus 40 is 104, and that is not less than 100. That's not less than 100. I'll put a little mark through there saying it's not a true statement. So A doesn't work. This combination doesn't work because when I plug 16 in for x and 8 in for y, doesn't come out to be less than 100. It comes out to be 104. So now I'm just going to go to B and see if that works. Just clear this out. There we go. Probably better if I just use my eraser. I'm just going to use I'll just use the eraser here. There we go. Now I'm going to use 15 and 8 and see if that combination works. I think this is going to work, B, because this is 16 and 8. 15 and 8, this 15 is a little smaller than 16. If I had to guess, it's going to be B at this point. But let's go ahead and just test it out real quick. I'll plug in x is 15, so I'll put in a 15 here. 15 here from here. It's from right here, x is 15 and y is 8. This should work. What's 15 times 4? That's 60. Ooh, wait, it might not work. Hold on, this is a tricky one. Plus 5 times 8 is 40. Is that less than 100? So what's 60 plus 40? That's 100. Is 100 less than 100? No, it's not. This does not work. 100 is equal to 100. Now, careful here. If it said this is just kind of a teaching note here. If it said, let's say just for practice, this was less, there was a little mark under here. This would mean is 100 less than or equal to 100 if it were written like this with this little bar. Remember, this is less than or equal to. Then it would be a true statement. This would mean 100 is less than or equal to 100. This would be true, but we don't have this little bar below it, so it's a false statement. That's just kind of a little teaching moment right there. And so this does not work either. This does not work. I'm just putting a little like bar through here. So 100 is not less than 100. So A is gone, B is gone. I should have crossed out A. A is gone, B is gone. Let's go ahead and shoot for C, and then we'll just keep going until we get the right answer. So Let me erase this. Make my eraser a little bigger. Now I'm just going to keep going, and I recommend you just keep going through this. Pause the video and see if you can come up with the right answer. I'm going to go ahead and do C really quickly, a little faster. And I'm going to go ahead and plug in this for X and this for Y. So it becomes, X is now 9, so it's 4 times 9. And Y is 13. See, this is 36 plus, let's see, that's 50 plus 75. This doesn't work either because 36 plus 75 is not less than 100. That doesn't work, and I just keep going. So what I'm doing here is just using my answer choices to help me. Let's go to this one. Maybe we can do this last part in our head instead of going through all the work. See, this is going to be 4 times 6 is 24, 5 times 50. I think it's going to be, well, I'll go ahead and plug this in. You do have access to a basic calculator that can speed this up. So now X is 6, Y is 15, X is 6, Y is 15. This is 24 plus 75. This seems to work. 24 plus 75 is 99 if I'm doing my math correct. 20 plus 79. Yes, this one works. 99 is less than 100, so my answer choice is B. Let's move to the next question. Let's look at question 4. It says a restaurant is at 75% capacity with 100 patrons. Patrons is, I think that's just like people. So how many people are in the restaurant when it is 100% capacity? So if it's at 75% capacity, let's say my restaurant looks like this. It's a box shape, right? Here's my restaurant. I'll break it up into parts of 4. And it's 75% full. Right here, 75%. So this 75% is 3 out of 4. 3 out of 4 is 75%. Think about it. 3 out of 4, right? I shaded in 3 areas. There's 4 total pieces here. Think about this, 3/4, right? 3/4 is 75 cents. So 3/4 represents 75%. So if the restaurant is 75% full, right? That means there's a total of 120 people in it, right? But I want to know how many people are in it if it's 100% full. So let's say it's completely full. That's 100%. I'll break up the same restaurant here. And now it's 100% full. The whole thing's full. So if it's completely full, you know there's going to be more than 120. There has to be more than 120. Because if it's 75% full, there's 120 people in it. But what about if it's 100% full? Then there'll be more people. It has to be more than this. So my answer has to be greater than 120. Has to be. So I can get rid of A, right? A is gone. A is 90. That doesn't make sense. We know my answer has to be greater than 120. B's gone too. B's gone too because it's equal to 120. And if it's 75% full, there's 120 people in it. So if it's 100% full, it has to be more than 120. Now at this point, if you're running out of time, you can just you can go ahead and guess your answer. If you need to, you have a better chance of guessing. But let me show you how I I'm just going to kind of set up a ratio for this to help you understand this a little bit better. Actually, instead of setting up a ratio, I'm just going to help you figure this out using the diagrams I drew. I'm a visual person, and let's see if we can figure this out. Ultimately, we need to figure out the question, right? What it is, how many people are in the restaurant when it's 100% full. So I want to know how many people are in the restaurant. Well, let's see. It says here, if it's 75% full, which is, here's a model of 75%, right? 3 shaded in out of 4 total. So let's think about this. I mean, intuitively, if it is 75% full, each one of these little pieces right here, each one of these little pieces has to add up to 120, doesn't it? I mean, because there's a total of 120 when it's 75% full. So let's just take 120 divided by these 3 pieces, right? I mean, I'm just kind of doing this intuitively. 120 divided by 3, right? Because there's 3 pieces here, which would be, let's see, let me get it in a color you can see. It would be 40, right? I mean, let me erase this little shaded area. This would have to be 40. Erase all of this. These would all have to be 40. And I'm just kind of figuring this out intuitively, right? This would have to be 40. This would have to be 40. This would have to be 40. Because 40 plus 40 plus 40 is 120. So, same thing over here. If it's 100% full, and I'm not even using a ratio. I'm just doing this intuitively. This would have to be 40. This would have to be 40. This would have to be 40. And then if this missing piece would also have to be 40. 40 plus 40 plus 40 plus 40 is 160. So if it's 100% full, my total capacity is 160. Let's go ahead and look at one more sample test question. Says Jenna bought some apples for $1.25 per pound and some avocados for $4 per pound. Altogether, she spent $14.25 for 7 pounds of apples and avocados. What is the total number of pounds of avocados Jenna bought? There's a lot here. This is confusing. I suggest that you highlight your final question, and you might want to do this on every problem that you encounter. What is the question asking for? It's asking for what is the total number of pounds of avocados Jenna bought. So now I know what my answer choices represent, right? These represent total number of pounds of avocados. So this would be 1 pound of avocados. I'm going to write that over here so I know what my answer choices represent. Pounds of avocados. So this would be, if A is my answer choice, it's 1 pound of avocados. B is my answer, then it's 2 pounds of avocados. So I'm going to use my answer choices to help me. So it says right here, it said that there was, if you look right here, it says altogether she spent $14.25 for 7 pounds of apples and avocados. So I know that there was a total of 7 pounds of avocados. So let's say our answer choice is A. Watch how I'm going to do this. This means I bought 1 pound of avocados. So let's assume it's A, 1 pound of avocados. Well, if my answer choice is A, then how many pounds of apples did I buy? Well, I bought a total of 7 pounds of apples and avocados, so that means I must have bought 6 pounds of apples. because 1 pound plus 6 pounds is 7 pounds. Now let's see, how much was each avocado? It says she bought some apples. It says avocados are $4 per pound right here. Avocados, $4 per pound. So if I bought 1 pound of avocados and it's $4 per pound, 1 pound is $4. And then it says in this situation, therefore I would have had to buy 6 pounds of apples. How much are apples per pound? It says 125. Right here it says apples, 25 per pound. And if I bought 6 pounds, that would be 6 pounds times 125. Well, what is 6? And I'll add these together. And if that gives us the total cost of $14.25, then A has to be my answer. So what's 6 times 125? Well, that's, let's see here, that would be 750. This would be 750. You can do that on the calculator. And this would be 4. 4 plus 750, does that give us the total of 1425? No, that gives us 1150. So this doesn't work. A is gone. Just using my answer choices to help me. So let's go through B and see if B works. Might not. So let me go through this again just in case you didn't get it the first time around. Just looking at this here. Okay, again, now remember, it says right here, 7 pounds of apples and avocados. We bought a total of 7 pounds of apples and avocados. So let's say B is my answer choice. That means I bought 2 pounds of avocados. So I'll go a little slower here. 2 pounds of avocados, right? Because my answer choices represent pounds of avocados. 2 pounds of avocados. So if I bought 2 pounds of avocados, how much would that cost me? Let's see, it says avocados right here. Avocados are $4 per pound, right? So if I bought 2, 1 pound is $4, so 2 pounds would have to be $8. If I bought 2 pounds of avocados, how many pounds of apples did I buy? It says right here, 7 pounds of apples and avocados. So the total weight of the apples and avocados has to be 7 from right here. So if this is 2, this would have to be 5 pounds of apples. Because 2 pounds plus 5 pounds is 7 pounds. It's got a total of 7 pounds. And how much are the apples? It says right here, the apples are 125. So 125 for each pound of apples. I bought 5 pounds, so I go 125 times 5. I'll add these together. 125, because it's 125 per pound right here, times the 5 pounds. See, that would give us $5. I believe that's 6. I'm doing my math right. You have a calculator. That's $5. That would be $6.25. Right here, 125 times 5, and then plus the $8 over here. Add that up, you get $14.25. And it's got a total right here. It says she spent a total of $14.25. This comes out to $14.25. So when I use the 2, it worked out. So my answer choice has to be B. And then I would move on to the next question. So that's it for this video. I just wanted to go over 5 sample test questions. I hope you found this really helpful. Have a great day.